My name is Dikshita Deuri and I'm working for customer support team here in Lucidworks for past 1.5 years. Today, my colleague Vrinda and I will be presenting on creating application for Fusion using Docker images. We will be using AppStudio Enterprise search template for creating our UI application. So before getting forward, I would request Vrinda to please introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Vrinda and I work as technical lead in the support team. And yeah, I'll be presenting AES on Docker images along with Dikshita.
Okay, so now let's move to the agenda for today's talk. Okay, so first we'll see what App Studio Enterprise Search is. Let me go to the agenda PPT. Yeah. So we'll see first what App Studio Enterprise Search is. We'll see how it is different from the App Studio Wizard that is available on Fusion 4X UI. We'll see how AES is compatible with different version of Fusion. We'll also talk you in the talk itself. We'll also have a short demo on how we can use different way to deploy our search application war file on both Fusion 4X as well as Fusion 5X. We'll see how AES Docker image deployment is done on Docker and Kubernetes, and to complement it, we'll have a demonstration on how to generate a Docker file and push our such application to the Google Kubernetes engine. We'll discuss during the demonstration process itself regarding few of the troubleshooting technique, and at last we'll end the talk by discussing about benefits of running AES on Kubernetes. So now let's start with it. Okay. Creating an enterprise search application, or if you say creating a search application, shouldn't be an overwhelming job. Here in App Studio, gives us a way to connect people with the search data by building modern, user-friendly front-end search application. App Studio Enterprise is an Appkit-based web application that connects your Fusion instance or any other data sources to the Appkit design framework. It comes preloaded with a starter search app template, which can be used as an entry point for building a standalone search application. AES is a successor to the embedded App Studio Wizard, which is available on Fusion 4X UI. Both AES as well as App Studio Wizard are powered by Appkit framework. App Studio exposes to a number of front-end JavaScript services, and these services are based on AngularJS framework. Moving forward on Fusion 5, App Studio will no longer be included on Fusion UI. However, we can use App Studio Enterprise Search to create app for Fusion 5. And one of the very exciting features that App Studio support is building of Docker image and running it as a container. So this gives us even more flexibility and compatibility to work with Fusion 5X. And let's see how AES is different from the App Studio Wizard, which is already available on Fusion 4X. As I mentioned earlier, right, that both AES as well as App Studio Wizard are powered by Appkit framework, but AES is not included with Fusion UI. It is a standalone Java-based web application that connects your Fusion instance or any other data sources to the Appkit design framework. On the other hand, App Studio Wizard is an app development wizard built in within the Fusion 4X UI. Since it is included in 4X UI, therefore its version always matches the version of Fusion it's running on, which contradict with App Studio Enterprise, as its versions are very loosely tied to the version of Appkit framework it includes. It releases when a new version of Appkit is released. So for instance, the Appkit 4.11 just got released, and so as Appkit App Studio Enterprise Search 4.11. As a result, App Studio Enterprise itself does not need to be updated to move the latest code from one version to another. A simple code change of Appkit version can be done in the pom.xml as well as in the package.json. Now let's see how AES is compatible with different version of Fusion. So any version of Appkit framework can be used with 4X, but there is a restriction when it comes to Fusion 5. In Fusion 5, the Appkit framework 4.6 or above is only supported. Now, AES is compatible with any version of Fusion, that is both with Fusion 4x as well as Fusion 5x. AES is also compatible with any Appkit framework. Therefore, we have our preferences to choose which one to use based on the availability and the Fusion version we are working on. Now let's see how we can upload the WAR file on Fusion 4x as well as Fusion 5x cluster. Since Fusion 4x App Studio is included in UI itself, therefore we can create our project and then upload our WAR file from the UI itself. On the other hand, as I mentioned, in Fusion 5x, App Studio is not included on the UI. Therefore, we'll be creating App Studio based search application as well as deploying the WAR file using REST API calls. In the upcoming slide, we'll see what those REST API calls are, and we'll have a short demo of uploading the WAR file on both 4x as well as 5x cluster. So as you can see in the screen, this is a screen snippet of my AWS instance, which I have shown, which I'm displaying here. I have created a project named as Baneghatta National Park in the 4x UI, and there's an upload button, right? So in that upload button, you can upload our WAR file, and then just above the upload button, there's a view publish UI, on click of which it will navigate us to our App Studio search application. Now, generation of WAR file requires script that need to be executed, and that is a /AppStudio package. And this will create a WAR file as well as a jar file inside the dist folder. I will show you how it is done. Moving forward, if you see, as I mentioned earlier, in Fusion 5, we do not have an UI for creating our project of App Studio, nor to deploy it. So we'll be using REST call. The first REST call, as you can see here, the first API call will be creating our project inside our Fusion app. The app name is the name of the Fusion app that will be there in the Fusion cluster. And the ID, that is my movie ID, as you can see, my movie app is the name of the project which I will be using. The second command will upload the WAR file. As you can see, there is a path, there is a data binary at the path of the WAR file, and this we will upload it to our project that I just created. Now so there is one more thing in Fusion 5 when it comes to deployment of the WAR file. You need to be very sure about what Appkit version you are using. If your Appkit version is less than 4.11, then you need to expose your web app service with load balancer before accessing the UI. Because until and unless you won't expose it, you won't be able to access your UI. There's a command, as you can see here, of kubectl expose deployment, which we will use to expose our deployment. We can do it from the Google Console UI as well. I'll show you there how it is done. Now let's move to the demo. So I'll be sharing my screen just a second. I hope you are able to see my screen. So this is an AWS instance where I have on which I have deployed 4.2.x Fusion, and this is the App Studio UI where I have created a project named Baneghatta National Park. We have a WAR file. We have an icon of uploading the WAR file, as well as we have the icon of viewing our published UI. So just give me a second. As you can see here, this is my project for Fusion 4 cluster. I have named this project as App Studio Enterprise 4.10.0 Fusion 4 F4. This is the dist folder. If I show you the dist folder, I have already generated a WAR file here just a few minutes before. Since this process can be a time taking, so I have generated it pre-hand to To generate the same, what we need to do is we need to execute this command. And once this command is executed, your war file will be created on the dist folder as mentioned here. So what I'll be doing, I will be uploading the war file here. And as it is publishing it, let me show you how the published UI will look, as this may take a little time. So this is the same AWS instance, and this is the published UI. As you can see, this is my project that is deployed with the same war file. So this is how it is done on Fusion 4x. Now let me show you how it is done on Fusion 5x cluster as well. So if you can see, this is my Fusion 5x cluster. It is running on 6764 port. And as you can see, I need to log in it once more time. Let me log in it. Yeah, as you can see, we do not have a build UI option here. So we need to use our REST call to do it. I already have 3 of the project running here. As you can see, this is the URL where we can see what all projects are there. There is Animal Shelter 2, Animal Shelter 1. So for the demo, I will be creating one more project. So let's give it the name as Animal Shelter 3. So this is the curl command that we'll be using. This is the Fusion host, and we'll be executing this command. So as you can see, my upload is completed. My project has been created with the name of Animal Shelter 3. You can see it here itself also. So this is the Animal Shelter 3. I do not have a war file yet on it. As you can see on other, there are war file already present. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a war file. I will be uploading the war file that is already there. So this is on my Fusion 5x cluster. The process is same of creating a war file. So let me. So yeah, so this will take a little time to upload my war file. So as it is happening, let me show you. I already have one cluster, one of the project deployed. As I mentioned here, this is Animal Shelter 2. So this is already deployed, and this is how the UI look. Okay, so we are able to view this because, as I mentioned, we need to expose our web app service as a load balancer. So as you can see, this is my Google Cloud Console, and this is my web app service. And in the web app service, I have exposed my web app service as a load balancer. You can use the command as I have mentioned in the previous slide, or you can just go here. We have an expose option. We can go there. We can select the name as load balancer, and we have to give the target port as 8780, and we can expose it. So as it is already done, I'm not doing it. Let me go back to my command prompt. As you can see, yes, my project got uploaded. My war file got uploaded, and you will be able to see it here. If I change the name to 3, the project will get loaded. Yes, so this is what it got loaded. Here is a small project that we have developed. More about it will be described by Vrinda in the coming slide. So this is the small demo of how to upload the war file. Now I'll move, I request Vrinda to carry forward with the other slides.
If you see, this is how your Docker file will look like. We have this key pair in the Docker file let's start with from. It will just build an image on your container. It will just pull an image of say Java 8 on your container and install it there. Then we can pass on the arguments, like the arguments that you define that variable that user can pass during the build time. Okay. Furthermore, you can add few jar paths, like where this particular jar will reside on your container, and from where to pull from where the source will pull this particular jar. So, and then you can also provide some Java environment variables in the keyword with the keyword env. So here I'm not really providing any Java options when I want to build this particular jar. So it is empty. Furthermore, I'll be building this application and exposing on port 8080, which is default App Studio port. So this is what I've done, like to expose this particular port. By default it is TCP port. So that's what we have exposed 8080 for. Furthermore, there is a keyword for entry point. So basically, where I want to execute this particular jar. So here it will, in the container, it will just execute this particular command, say Java jar, and the app jar that has been built on particular that has been copied from your application, from your um, image to the container. So, and here I have some Java options for Java Security Edge. This is particularly for creating a random number um, for in the session of Docker, which will just make the Tomcat application to be deployed a little faster. So we need not really worry about this one right now. And looking to this particular Docker command that has been introduced in AAC, is like you just do App Studio instead of App Studio start or package, you can do Docker package. Okay, this will basically create a jar or a WAR file again in the test folder, which will be no good to deploy on any Docker container. So here you have this options to package and start at the same time, or just package it with a profile option. You can, by default, it will be a development profile, but you can, when you are deploying it on a production, you might want to change it to production so that the config files of production will be pulled in this particular jar file that will be built. Lastly, you will have an option to define what should be the name of your image of your the Docker image. So, and it will be by default tagged as latest. So I think it would be good if we just have a small demo of this. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Okay. So I have this here. This is my terminal. Let me just see that. Yeah, I'm in the project App Studio AAC 10. 4.10 is what I'm using it. So if you see, I'll just create this package, the same command that we just discussed about right now. And this is my image name that I would want to give. So it's GCRIO. This is LW support team is my cluster name in the the project name in the GCP. So everything that I packaged, I'll just deploy it over the Google Cloud Console. That's what we will be using in this particular demo. That does not mean it is the only one that is supported. You can deploy it on any of the Kubernetes application, platform, that is AWS or OpenShift. So yeah, let me just create a image which can be pushed to your Docker container registry. So this might take a little while, and this particular image will be tagged as this image name, the production, and yeah, which will be pushed to your GCP container registry. Give me a moment. It will just create an image. Yeah. Okay, it's still building it. So yeah, while we see that this is deploying, let me just move on to further. Okay, it is tagging this as latest, and we are good to go. Yeah, while this is being building, further steps from here will be that we will just push this particular image that has been created to the Docker container registry. Once this is done, you will be able to see it here. Let's not wait for that process. I have done this in past. I'll just show you how it will look like. So this is where your images will be shown in the GCP. So I had tagged it as production. So yeah, this is the one latest. And once this is completed, okay, yeah, this is done. I'll just push here. And once this is pushed, I'll be able to see my latest application over here. And it will be this particular image the new one will be tagged as latest. So we can just deploy it as it is and expose it as a service. So yeah, it's building. Further, let's just see how it can be, how can we just make a deployment out of it. Once this is done, okay, did I just, okay, let me just push it rightly. Okay, this has been pushed. I'll create a deployment out of it. If I go to UI, I will see in the workloads that this particular deployment is present. Yeah, it is present. This is how your YAML will look like. Okay, we have this image that is latest, that has been, this is the container. If you see, this has been tagged as the latest one. Once this is done, you can go ahead and expose it as a service. Let's see, once this is exposed as service of type say load balancer, you'll be able to see it here. Okay, it is exposed. Yeah, here you can see that I have just used this target port as 8080, the same port that we had defined in the Docker file. So the one that you define in the Docker file has to match this particular target port. Okay, if this doesn't match, you will have issues. Now if I go here, this particular has been deployed and I have it ready here. It's 3483. Yeah. So this is how it will look like once it is deployed. Where are we on this one? Okay, this has been this. So these are the commands that you can expose, and then once this is done, exposed as a service, you can go ahead and do kubectl get services. It will give you the IP that we just are accessing. This is how your application will be accessible. And let me just walk you through the application that we have created. I have this date facets here. I have few facets that are searched within facets. So let me just search and yeah, okay. Karnataka. Yeah, you have Karnataka and Kashmir. Here we have this pie chart that has been shown as a facet. I can just click and see what all national parks were created or established in particular, year. Then we have this Google API that we have exposed. So this is just a geo map that is, I think, a very new feature in AAC. Okay, you can just select the location and have this as a facet. So it comes very handy when you really want to just see what all national parks are there in this particular area. So you can use this Google Maps API here. Then we have this feature to export whatever results you get. So here I'm using this media tag to export export media tag as an XLS. Furthermore, I have this tabs here, which I have created one for each data sources. So yeah, this is pretty much how your simple application could go on when you are using AAC. So this is pretty much like whatever you had in App Studio 4 as a part of like Wizard UI. Yeah, so this is pretty much it. Let me just walk you through a few benefits of having Kubernetes, sorry, AAC on Kubernetes platform. So first of all, if we see, like Fusion 5 is basically a cloud native. Uh, yeah, let me just share my screen first, the slides first. So if you see, Fusion 5 is a cloud native application, but the AAC is no more packaged with it. So now if you want it to be in the old way, you can deploy AAC on your Fusion, Kubernetes Fusion cluster as a deployment and then expose it as a service, or have an cluster IP and expose it as an from using Ingress. So that is one way of keeping everything in one place. Apart from that, you can also have deploying it on Kubernetes will be very cost effective. So if we think if during like holiday season, if you want to add more nodes, you do not really have to go through very tedious process of deploying each and deploying on each node and then everything on Tomcat. All you need to do is just add a replica and the YAML file, and it will just spun up more number of pods, and you're good to go there. So that is one way like of exploiting the auto scaling in Kubernetes. Apart from this, it's obviously very fast to market. As we saw that I just deployed a product. I just pushed it as a pushed the image to the container, and then it was deployed of its own, and we are good to go. So it's like very fast. You do not really have to have any third party in between to make this deployment process automated. So yeah, you save a lot of time and money there. Apart from this, you can also integrate the deployment process along with Travis or say Docker Hub. So yeah, there are many ways to do it, and it's not just GCP that we have no demoed. You can have this on your on-prem cloud or hybrid cloud environment, or OCP OpenShift, or maybe AWS Kubernetes cluster. So this is pretty much flexible when it comes to Kubernetes. Like advantages are no less than Kubernetes. Like AAC advantages with Kubernetes are no less than what you have in KDS. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Here are a few references that we used along the way. All the steps that we demoed, I or Dikshita, are documented as a knowledge base on our support website. So you can go ahead and refer those ones when you really want to implement or try it out yourself. So yeah, that will come handy then. And here are a few links that we used for demonstrating this particular exercise. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys.